Episode 283, 6 Lessons from the Squid Game.
You're listening to the very best podcast in the world on health, wealth, and happiness. Please remember to leave a review and share with all your friends and family. And here is your host, Lars Hilser.
And it's Hump Day. Welcome to the very best podcast in the world, your only source in the universe for personal supremacy through health, wealth, and happiness. Ladies and gentleperson, sometimes you have to steal blatantly. And so I did. But first things first. The Squid Game is this awesome series. If you haven't seen it, like myself, then I don't know if you should. Here's my review. We watched about 2 minutes, and the show was in Korean because that's where it's from. And we only found out later by mere coincidence that obviously there is a German audio track available, but we watched, we have English set as default language on Netflix on our TV, so we couldn't really take advantage of that. So after 2 minutes trying to keep up with the subtitles at the bottom of the show, which seemed kind of ridiculous, we just shut it off, only to learn later what the show was about. And then not really having regretted our decision to tune out 2 minutes into the first episode. However, I came across some very interesting collage of images, which were, created more like a meme, saying, something about 6 lessons that are to be learned from the Squid Game. So without having been in the position to have watched all of the content, I am able to review this obviously credible list of lessons to be learned from that show. And I thought it was worthwhile sharing with you guys, despite the fact that, again, I haven't seen any of the episodes except 2 minutes of the first one. So right after we complete our housekeeping, we're going to go into these 6 lessons, and I'm going to review them briefly with you and put them into a more worldly context with some examples that I went through. And that's the reason, really the only reason I'm creating this episode today. So without further ado, let's get into housekeeping. You thought I'd forget. Item number 1 is, as always, sharing is caring, meaning that you get content here for free. There are other people out there who offer very similar, if not in parts, the same content at a premium price. And once they've cashed in on the premium price and have raped your wallet, they will then say, well, this next lesson, all you need to do is to max out your credit card, and only then will you become the happy camper that you've been aspiring to become. And when you've maxed out your credit card, you can see them driving off into the sunset in their Bentley or Lambo, or taking off in their private jet, which you have in part paid for, only to be looking for the next fix, but to be left without any assets. And that's to avoid that, please share this content far and wide. That being said, item number 2 is, as always, views in this podcast are my own, and they do not reflect the views of any employers that I have had in the past, and that I will probably never have again in the future. And so, that's that. And item number 3 is, as always, in the last couple of weeks, and for the foreseeable future, we're in major renovation and rehauling mode. And so therefore, the episodes are going to be a bit shorter, a bit more concise, but not less qualitative. So now that we've got all of those 3 points covered, let's get into these 6 lessons. Do not rush in life is item number 1. And while, I thought that is, something that I couldn't really subscribe to. Reflecting upon it brought me to the decision that yes, it very well is true, because I didn't really rush anything, right? A lot of the puzzle pieces just fell into place over time. And that was, something insanely interesting that happened, because I would have, I was just the first few years I was pushing and shoving, and only to get more pressure back, right? So, the more you push, the more pressure you're going to get back. So don't rush things. A lot of things are just going to fall into place. Don't rush finding your better half. That just happens coincidentally. Trust me, more often than not. In all the relationships I've had in the past where, I was pushing and shoving, those were kind of like for the toilet in retrospect. Item number 2, being left behind doesn't mean you're the weakest, right? And this is probably true for the series from what I heard. That's really, really, really true. I was born with a vision deficiency, and so since I don't have depth perception, I was always the sucker when it came to school sports. Where you had to select the teams, and I was always the last one standing there, and nobody really wanted me on their team, so I was left behind a lot of times, and that also reflected in my curricular activities, but didn't really say that I was the weakest, right? Because a lot of the time as a kid, it's spent working, so I was physically very fit. It was just that I wasn't really good at any of the shit they were doing in school sports, like kicking balls, hitting balls, and all of that kind of ordeal, and anything that was non-team related, I was insanely good. So that was a very interesting experience that I have had there. Item number 3 is to win the struggles in life, you have to be. Right? And there's nothing more important in life than a manifested personality, right? You have to be that. You have to be yourself. I think that's more true. More importantly, though, you have to be in the moment. You have to be full of awareness at any time, at any given moment. And more importantly, though, you have to be, to win the struggles in life. You have to be aware, like I said, to be able to take in your surroundings and to be able to take in all of the emotions that are taking place. For instance, if you're in a business meeting with a client, you have to be able to read the client. You just have to be aware. You have to be in the moment. You have to be yourself in that every moment of your life. Next, item number 4, each and every one of us has a role. And I think that's insanely true, right? For a lot of people out there, their role is clear. They subordinate to, their superiors. They don't really ask a lot of questions. They're just there. They just play their role. Sorry. But it's about breaking out of that role occasionally, right? To go into a new role. Because if you play the same role your entire life, right, you're going to get tired. And that's what inevitably leads to, the burnout, the depression, that kind of ordeal, the boredom, the, working for retirement and then finally being retired and then 6 weeks later dying of a heart attack, and the pension fund, just stroking their best part because they just paid shitloads of money off of you, right? Let's be honest. But it's not about just having the role. It's about changing it. It's about growing out of your role into a new role. It's about manifesting yourself in a role to a degree where it becomes self-sufficient, which gives you more time to then grow out of that role. Next is item number 5, be honest and never, ever betray your friend. And this is an insanely important lesson. Now, I think I have north of 7,000 contacts on LinkedIn, and close to 5,000 friends on Facebook and whatnot. A small fraction of those I have actually had detailed discussions with. And when it comes to friends, where I would know, people I could rely on so badly that I could call them up even after not having spoken to them for a couple of years and then saying, hey, look, I need help. There's maybe 3, let's face it. And to be stupid enough to betray that friend, that takes a lot of balls. That takes really, really, really a lot of balls. And even in a business dealing, I don't know, I want my friends to be open to a degree where, we would both be sitting at a table with a client and my friend would be doing financially worse than I was. I would say, okay, look, you take the deal. Good on you. Next one's mine. And I would just rely, and I do, 100% on the few real friends that I have, that they would do the same for me, to weigh those things off. Friendships last forever, folks. Good and honest friendships. So, last but not least, item number 6 on this list is the game itself is a life lesson. And I take life, and I always have, as a big, big, big game and gamble. It's about taking calculated risks, and any opportunity that comes your way, it's about leaving it behind, consciously evaluating, though, whether and how it can benefit you, and then being honest to yourself and saying, can I load this onto my platter? Right? It's the entire life is a gamble if you boil it down, right? And that's what's really, really, really important to learn, is that, your entire life is nothing but. So those were obviously, right? But I cross-checked with some people who saw the series, who took the time and the effort. Those were the 6 lessons to be taken away from the Squid Game, obviously, without having seen it. But I think reflecting upon them, there's really a lot of truth to it. And if the series is actually that good, maybe I will watch it once English audio is available. So in that sense, I hope that you have a good rest of your hump day. If you've already had your Wednesday, have a good night. Leave your hands above the blanket. Stay safe. And tomorrow we are going to talk about assets versus liabilities. Peace out. See you tomorrow, folks. Bye-bye.